So our topland, this is the midland, and from here we will go to the topland. I'll give it names so we have a little bit of orientation on these different levels of the land. La Nina is way. And so you can see the coast, the sea, and so it's not too far away. So most strong winds come from over there, but the trees don't really show that much. So it's quite mild actually. Actually, what you're seeing is main wind from the north, like the trees are a bit expressing better growth that way. So they get the afternoon sun, and in the morning it's more misty. I honestly really cannot say what's the most obvious wind direction because the trees, yeah, it's like I said, it's coming from the sea. They're lightly angled that way, but it's not so extreme as near the coast where you see trees that are really shaped into strange shapes. So here's our little pond, totally overgrown with Tilia latifolia, which is an edible root and plant. And you can see it here, it's green, but the plant from last year is over here, all brown, covering the bit of water that is here. This pond is here since, let's say, 5 years now, always with water, no liner, so we're just having clay. Very, very interesting to see the difference in height. So here you can see the water. You can see a little bit of the water lilies over there. I can zoom, yeah. And if you see, this is 1 meter down here, 1 meter water. And then we go down there. This is the dam wall where I'm standing on, holding that water from going to the market garden. So it's interesting how clay soil can actually hold water very well. Well, theoretically there's still rainwater in here from 5 years ago. And yeah, it gives a lot of biodiversity to this land. There's a lot of turtles and snakes and yeah, dragonflies and beautiful critters, and everything that loves water is using this space. So you can see the distance. There's our small tunnel where we were in the beginning. Then you get the midland, a little bit of the forest, which we don't farm yet. And here's our dome for volunteers and also for rentals, for renting later. And now our top tunnel with the agroforestry system on the side. I'm going to show you both. And yeah, the strawberries are planted again this year. I'm really happy with the volunteers that were here. They helped me so much. 2 people with their kids having a great time for 2 weeks, and they just fixed the whole tunnel up again. It was really needed. I didn't have time, as we also have a baby. And so chard, hopefully turmeric coming in between them, which is already in the ground. And so it's now in May. In November we will take turmeric from this. The chard is still here. We've been harvesting chard since 4 months now. And there's the taro, another row of taro. Last year we had taro here and small bananas. Now we have big bananas, and decided to try taro again on the same spot. Some cucumbers coming up from seed, which not intentionally, but start to think I maybe should, yeah, put some seed in the ground as well. Cucumber, why not? Or maybe here a few along the strawberries, so they can climb up in these wires. Yeah, I think I will do that. Creative use of space, that's what it's all about nowadays, especially when you have a relatively small farm. So yeah, obviously this is not a good idea. These guys are really needing to grow taller. I got myself a small variety, I thought. They are not so small as I hoped. They're actually rather large, and So what this is now is basically my nursery for banana plants, and soon I will transport them outside so they can become really nice, yeah, plants for in between my strawberries. So they can become nice for in between my agroforestry system. I will show you right outside. This taro is already enormous in May. Look at that. And yeah, you can see this was in the ground and germinated quite soon. So here again, this taro also, love it. I mean, we're just in the beginning of the summer. Very promising. I can only say last year we had such a success with the taro. Looks like we get the same deal. Everything continues so good. The beans, I planted them on the side. As long as I still have light here. You can imagine soon with these plants getting bigger, it will be quite dark. And they even outshade the grasses. So all this grass here in the middle, this is a very, very strong grass. And it basically does take over if you don't watch out. So we are not really managing the grass in the sense that we are pulling it like I did now, because that would be insane to do that. But instead we basically mow it and grow tall crops to outshade them. And the mowing is also right away the syntropic effect of giving it a growth pulse. So the whole system gets sort of a growth pulse because we're chopping. And the plant sends out a growth hormone which makes other plants around grow. This is how we basically manage everything by pruning and creating this need for all the plants in the system to make photosynthesis and to make new leaves. Especially these grasses, they really want to make new leaves obviously when you mow them, and they want to go to the stage where they can go to seed. We are basically keeping them at bay and trying to win terrain with our leafy taller crops. Of course, if I would plant more annual crops like chard or let's say a bed of lettuce, and I would basically do the same thing. I would just mow it very flat to the ground, very intensely flat to the ground, and I would give it a little bit of a compost buffer so the grasses don't come along that fast. And I will harvest my annual crops before it's too late. That's how it goes until now. Just perfect. Good timing, letting everything work together. So here we got the quince and the mamona, mulberry, and we got again pomegranate, willow, annona, gooseberry, small berries, Cape gooseberry, and this is so this is Eleagnus umbellata, the Cape gooseberry I also call it. Then the poplar tree, fig, and a lot of comfrey on the base everywhere, which is really nice to get the system a bit protected from all those grasses. Because if you have them in between your trees, you basically have a hard time getting them managed. It's hard to mow in between your trees. To be a manual job, which is not ideal. So all the fruit trees are starting to become really beautiful. Fruits on it. Great. Nitrogen. So this is a Feijoa again, and then you have here nitrogen fixing, Cape gooseberry, or Eleagnus umbellata, which is a lot of them here in this row. There are here for already 3 years now, so this system is older, has been pruned quite intensely, and I made some initial mistakes by not planting dense enough, and I also didn't use enough mulch in the beginning, resulting in more management and not such a good growth. Besides that, this is also a different type of soil. We're dealing here with a more sandier soil, which actually was plowed many times before, so it was not that rural as the soil there below, with more clay. yeah, what can I say? It's an interesting way to see this develop, and I will introduce lots of the banana in this system so I can use that as a really nice mulch. Now you would wonder what's under the white cloth, and this is just a bit of rabbit protection, because actually it has a nice, it helps, it's sort of a greenhouse effect for the sweet potato, which is here, but it was predated by rabbits voraciously, and I thought, you know, I didn't put all that work in it to let it be eaten by all the rabbits. So they've had their share, and now it's time to let most of these sweet potatoes grow. I get an insurance planted as well. I planted potato under it on the open spots where the sweet potato was totally gone, and I put it beans along. So not climbing beans, but yeah, low beans, ground beans, and they are not in that row because their sweet potato was pretty good over there, but I did definitely introduce them here. And I did also introduce pumpkins, 3 seeds every meter on this row and on that row. So sweet potatoes with pumpkins, heavy compost and chicken manure on the base. Made a little bit of a hill, so the sweet potato is not so hard to take out of the ground. Those are little tricks. Last year or a few years ago I did sweet potato and I didn't make the hill. Old farmers around here making a hill. Guess at that point you kind of have to learn with the best, or with the people that at least doing it in a way that you get sweet potatoes easily out of the ground. I wouldn't say the conventional methods here are always the best, because we're not using single-use plastic. This is the most single-use plastic, I would say. This is not even single-use. I'm using it several years, and it's synthetic material, so yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat, but it really helps. And I don't mind. It's just that it would be more beautiful. I just put the sweet potato in and they take over, but at this point I really thought for a moment that the rabbits were gonna just kill them off at a certain point, so you never know. Yeah, it's actually I have to share that also. The point that the sweet potato was being predated on was also probably because it was a very weak plant. I was too late planting them, so I got my cuttings from that I bought, and I waited too long. I didn't have time to plant, so I were for a week almost out. Not really loving it. And then I put them in the ground, so they slowly started to make leaf, but they were kind of weak, and the rabbits thought, you know, this is a good opportunity to graze that off, because these plants are not so vigorous anymore. And yeah, you can see nature has a response to that. Stuff that is not vigorous, stuff that doesn't take the lead, will be munched down and become compost for the system. So that's how things are starting to develop. We need mulch at the base of these tree systems, lots of mulch. You can see this tree system, as it's 3 years old, it really becomes a little bit too big to start annual production here on the base. So there is some rhubarb from the beginning, but this is not annual even. But I mean, what we're dealing with is plants that are already shading this this top here, and yeah, some annual production would still work probably, but it's also due to the fact that I just don't have much time to manage this here area on the top. Otherwise I would probably still even try to push it another year by pruning all these trees very shortly, and grow an annual crop on the edge, which in my case always is very beneficial, because I basically feed the compost for my animals, but at the same time the compost that stays obviously on the ground is then also the feed for these trees. And yeah, in the beginning we did that. We took advantage of the space, the fact that there was space along the trees that were small. And by now, if I have more time, I will definitely put another row with crop here and another row with an interesting crop over here. And I'm already speculating with the idea to grow asparagus on these areas. Anything I can do with the time I have available. I hope you like this update on our land, and yeah, soon hopefully I'm starting to harvest a little bit of beautiful crops out of all this. It's looking all really lush and beautiful. As you can see, the farm has this differences in height, and there's a lot of, you could say, traffic needed to get from one place to the other, which costs time, especially when you have to carry stuff. A lot of irrigation I took out from the top land, so yeah, I basically had to stop the top land on several beds to be able to be able to take care of my son, my second son. So we are having two small ones, and that takes us a little bit more time, not more than expected. So the first areas that become less intensive are obviously the ones that are furthest away, and happily the tree system is more or less established, and this is quite close to where we are, so this makes it very manageable. You can see it's not much land we're farming, and that still takes a lot of time. But we could farm more. Slowly we start having a little bit more time. So what's most interesting for me and for our family is that we can actually push so much into one small space so fast. That is increasingly successful for what we do. Every time we realize there's more potential in this small space. And you can see here, for example, very green grass in this footpath. And this will just be mowed. And here is one that recently was tarped, so there's nothing growing, but I already direct seeded sorghum here, which is a really nice tall corn family grass, which actually produces an edible grain, the sorghum, Sudan grass. And it's coming here along as a sort of a mini windbreak, interplanted with this taller nitrogen fixing tree, which is casuarina. It's a she oak, and I put them every 50 centimeters in this row, so it will block the wind in the future for this little orchard mini agroforestry system. Yeah, and these are obviously very nice to have, and you can mow this down basically because it's a perennial. They come back, and I'm gonna do that in most of the footpaths that I have here available. So they will come along, and at the point that they become too much shade, if they create too much shade for the rest of the system, I will chop them down. Actually, there is a few here from the last year, and they're coming along as well. Not all survived because I went a bit, they actually didn't germinate so many because it was too late in the season, or I didn't water them. But here it went really good. They came along all, and they provide a really nice organic matter for these rows here. So I'd rather have that than some grass or some invasive grass. I'd prefer to control it by seeing it myself, and that's amazing, just to be able to manage your own biomass within this intensified system. Yeah, you can see they're coming, the first ones coming along. Okay, hope to have updated you enough on all this, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.